Hello everyone, welcome to the webinar. Today we're going to be talking about complying with ISO 9001 in the transition. First we're going to go through our agenda. We're going to do some presenter introductions. Then we're going to talk about making the transition from ISO 9001, the 2008 edition, to the 2015 edition. Then we're going to talk about QMS share, our implementation that we implemented for ATS, and do a quick ATS or a QMS share demo, and then we'll follow up with some questions and answers at the end. My name is Eric Gregorich. I work with Able Solutions. I've been working with SharePoint for about 12 to 13 years now. I have a SharePoint developer background, and now I'm a SharePoint solution architect.
Hello, my name is Aaron Robe. I'm a senior member of ASQ and I'm a certified quality auditor. I've worked in the quality field since 2004. ATS is an engineering, testing, consulting, and inspection services company located in Marietta, Georgia. Some brief notes about ISO 9001. 9001 is an internationally recognized standard on quality management systems. It provides guidance and tools for companies and organizations who want to ensure that their products and services consistently meet customer requirements and that quality is consistently improved. This standard can apply to all business types, from manufacturing, laboratory testing, to providing lawn service. The standard was revised in 2015, and the companies were given 3 years to update to the new edition. That grace period for transition ended September 14. If you are watching this webinar, you have allowed your certification to lapse, you want to become 9001 certified, or you just want to learn more about quality management systems. Whatever your circumstances, you trust ATS as a positive example in quality management practices, and you want to learn more about the 9001 changes. Here at ATS, we maintain a large list of accreditations and certifications in addition to 9001. 17025 is an accreditation program that communicates to customers that we can competently perform testing and generate accurate and reliable results. Each test on our scope must be individually witnessed by our registrar. NADCAP is specific to the aerospace industry, and like 17025, the testing must be demonstrated to the approved third party. FAA repair station approval is granted to our location by the FAA specifically to perform non-destructive testing on in-service aircraft components. CPSC is for third-party testing of children's components to ensure product safety. NQA1 is for certification of our quality system to supply safety-related services to nuclear facilities. Some benefits of implementing QMS are to boost effectiveness, improve and standardize customer experience, promote compliance with applicable standards and regulations, and ensure employees have access to accurate and approved documentation. Some of the principles behind an effective QMS are focused around customer focus, leadership, engagement of people, ensuring a process-based approach, continual improvement, data decision-making, and risk management. The key changes to the standard are an adaptation to the 10 clauses of ISO high-level structure. The revision made it easier for non-manufacturing businesses to use the standard to help their organization. A greater focus on the context of the organization. An increased expectation that the organization define each of the processes that the QMS system will govern. And preventative actions are now listed as risk management. So we finally get to what ATS did. Performing a gap assessment was the most important key to our success. The quality department chose to sit down as a team to try to complete the 9001 2015 audit checklist. Working as a team, we tried to complete the checklist using our existing quality program documents. It is important to be able to supply objective evidence for each question asked. For each issue found, you need to develop an action plan to address each gap. ISO gives guidelines for achieving quality objectives. Since it is an objective that you want to become 9001 certified, you should follow the guidelines that they have listed. What needs to occur, what resources are needed, who in your organization is responsible for completing each action, when are the actions due, and how the results will be verified when they are complete. Most of the items that we found non-compliant boiled down to record keeping. Our management review, held annually, informally addressed many items needed, but not all topics that were discussed during that meeting were being documented in our meeting minutes. By updating our documentation of topics discussed during management review and top management planning sessions, most gaps in our QMS were addressed. We also had to make sure everyone in the company was aware of the changes that were being made and provide training. We did this in 3 steps. Overview training for those affected by the changes, training and qualification for internal auditors to the new standard, training for management personnel on new practices made to the quality system. We then revised our internal procedures. Each change was then verified that it was effective, and an additional round of internal audits was used to verify that the changes were properly implemented and effective. Because our team at ATS is thoroughly knowledgeable about 9001 guidelines and requirements, we are available to offer support to our clients pursuing their own quality management goals. We offer an independent gap analysis to help ensure that you're prepared for your transition, consulting services to help guide you on your specific needs to help revise your procedures and your practices, or even help you perform your annual system audits to ensure your system remains compliant. And one of the tools we use to help our transition is called QMS Share. Able Solutions helped us implement this product. I will now turn it over to Eric to tell you more.
Hello, this is Eric again. I wanted to first introduce Able Solutions. We are an ATS subsidiary. We have been in business for over 25 years, working in mostly .NET development and SharePoint solutions. In QMS Share, we have various features such as accessibility and user-friendly document library, make it easy for clients to control and interact with their QMS documents. So QMS Share is our solution accelerator, and by that we mean it is a framework that we've implemented based on our experience with customers over the years. We've implemented many solutions where we're managing controlled documents and corrective actions and contract management solutions, and we're just taking that experience in the repetitive process that we've been implementing and building that into a framework that we can easily implement for our customers, and in the end reducing the implementation time and the cost. QMS Share consists of several modules, including controlled documents, audit tracking and audit scheduling and checklist information, corrective actions and tracking those corrective actions and preventative actions, supplier management, training, and planning tools. We currently have our controlled documents and audit tracking implemented. We are working on implementing our corrective actions module, and the other modules we have detailed plans. They are in our future near-term roadmap. QMS Share can be implemented in multiple SharePoint environments. Most commonly, we use SharePoint Online in Office 365. And from there, we can use either SharePoint Designer, sometimes Microsoft Flow, or even Nintex workflows in that implementation. If we implement in SharePoint on-premise environments, we would typically use either SharePoint Designer or Nintex workflows. And the difference between those, SharePoint Designer is the workflow engine that comes with SharePoint, and Nintex workflow is a more robust solution that gives you a little bit more capabilities, an easier implementation, and a lot more functionality that we can implement on top of the solution. So now I'm going to jump over to our demo and walk through what the QMS Share implementation looks like and explain some of the functionality. So here is our QMS Share homepage. It's very customizable. And again, like I said earlier, this is a framework that we implement. So it is built on top of SharePoint, and we use scripting in our experience just to roll it out the foundation very quickly into your environment, and we get your specific requirements to customize it as we go. So what you see on the home page here may be different depending on what you need to see for your organization. Here we have quick access to search public documents. These are the documents that have been published, and I'll explain that a little bit more as we get into the controlled documents module. And we can also see some trending documents and most recently published documents from this page. Going across our top here, we have our Kappa module. I'll go into a little bit more detail on that soon. And then we have some navigation to different departments and locations. So each department and location essentially has the same structure. They have their own working documents, libraries, and functionality. They're just separated across different facilities or different sites so that each site can have their own documents and their own approvers and security around those documents. Whenever we do a search from the top level, we can search across all of those documents across all of the sites to surface that information, make it easy to find for users. So I'm going to jump into one of the sites. And again, all these sites would look very similar to this. The landing page for the site is essentially a dashboard for the user. So they would see what they have access to see and what they would need to see. If they're not an approver, they would not see approval tasks in that type of information. They would just see the published documents that they need to access. So we have things like published documents, any tasks that are assigned to me, any required reading that's assigned to me, which I'll explain a little bit more in a few minutes. We can see all the documents that are pending approval and all the pending tasks as well. And again, this is customizable, so we can surface different information to make it easy to find what you need to see. Getting into our document libraries, we have several libraries where we store documents. We have a working documents library where we add new documents and edit documents. This is where your documents are maintained. So the people you would have a limited set of people who would have access to this library. Whenever the documents are changed and approved, they get copied into the published documents library. And the published documents library would be open for everybody to access those documents. Within the document libraries, we have standard SharePoint functionality. We can sort and filter and group the documents however we would like. We can easily do sorting and filtering using the columns across the top here. It makes it easy to drill down and find the documents that you need. Okay. We have several different document types, and this is all configurable as well. So we may have forms, SOPs, work instructions, and so forth, all kinds of other document types that are available, and that's completely configurable. And when we add our documents here, we can assign metadata to these documents, and that includes our name, which is our file name for that document. The document number is system generated based on the prefix of the site and the document type and the category that's assigned to it. The current version is maintained by the system. So every time it is approved as a new revision, that version is incremented and you get a new revision date. Every document would have a document owner, so that's the person that would be responsible for that document and would be notified when the document needs to be reviewed. And some other metadata just to categorize the document and make it easy to find for users. We also have an approval status here in this library. There's 4 approval statuses. There's by default, document would be a draft. If you submit the document for approval, it would be a pending. And of course, you can approve it or you can reject it. So let me add a document, and then I'll explain the workflow process just a little bit more. So I can go to my computer here and upload a document, or I can grab it from SharePoint and upload a document. Multiple ways to add documents here. In this case, I just did a drag and drop. Okay, let me change that real quick. Oh, demo file here. Let me just open up an existing document and show you the next steps. So when we upload a document, it would take you to this screen where you're going to modify the metadata for the document. And these are basically the same columns that you would see in the view, where you can assign the document owner and the document type and category and so forth. You can also assign a review date when the document needs to be next reviewed. And maybe this is a year out, or maybe every 3 years, whatever the requirement is for that document. And we have a required reading field. This would be where you would list all the users who would need to be notified when the document is approved. And those users would need to acknowledge that they've read the document and have read through the changes that were made to the document. And all that information is tracked in a list where you can see who has approved or who has acknowledged that document, those changes to the document, and who has not. So you can keep track of that information. We can also tie the document to a specific standard if we wanted to make it easier to, filter by a standard and see all the documents related to that standard. And we have enterprise keywords, which are essentially free-form keywords where we can tag the document with any other information that might make it easier to find by the users. Okay, so once the document is in the system, we can start the workflow process. Now, we also have the ability to send a document for feedback. So we can send it to a group of people or one or many people to just collect information about the document, get their assistance with making changes to the document. And that workflow process is very straightforward. They receive a notification and a task to complete, to provide their feedback, and as well as a link to the document itself. Once that is complete, we assume the document is ready for approval, so we can route it to be approved. So here we can publish the document, put in some comments, and it's going to take us to the screen where we can do our document approval. So while that's loading here, we switch over to our diagram that just kind of visually shows this process in a little bit more detail. Document starts as a draft. Then we go into pending approval. That's where the approvers are going to review the documents. And then we have our document is going to be either approved or rejected. Pretty straightforward. When the document is approved, it will be copied into the published documents library. Now back to my approval screen here, we have many options to configure the approval workflow. We can set all the default options so that it can be very straightforward, and especially if it's very repetitive. So we can have a default assigned to group for that site, which would be, in this case, Albany approvers, and it may contain many users that you can swap out as needed. And those approvers we can configure to either approve, they all have to approve the changes, or any one of them has to approve the changes, and then it moves forward. We can put in some details about our request, specific details about the change, and we can even assign a due date for the change. So if it needs to be expedited, we can assign a specific due date so that they're notified and of any upcoming due tasks to approve that document. or if it's a lower priority, we can push off that due date into a later date. We can also CC somebody else, and they would receive an email notification and be notified when there's changes to within the approval process, but they are not required to provide any action on their own. Once I start this workflow here, the approvers would receive a notification with a link to the document and the instructions, and they would go and complete their tasks to review the document and approve or reject it. If the document is rejected, it would simply be the workflow would end, and the document owner would be notified with the details. They can make changes to the document and resubmit it, go through the process again, or just leave the document in a rejected state. The other workflow we have around our documents is the review process. So it's very challenging and difficult to demo because it's based on the time period. But if the document is scheduled to be reviewed, in 1 year, 30 days prior to that due date, there would be a notification to the document owner so that they can review the document, determine if any changes are needed to the document. There's also a notification in an archival workflow process, so we can easily go in here to a document that needs to be archived because it no longer is valid, and we can go and archive that document. And what that does is simply pulls it from the published documents library and the working documents library and adds it to the archived documents. So the document is still available, but it's not going to be accessible easily by the end users for their day-to-day job. Okay. Then all this information is tracked in the audit log. We have configuration options as well, so we can configure all the categories and the metadata that's being associated with the document. And we can do some reports based on which tasks are pending, which tasks are overdue, and so forth. Okay, I'm going to switch back over to the presentation and get into the CAPA module. So our CAPA module is pretty straightforward. We basically break it out into 3 different sections. We're capturing the information, and we're going to process that information and determine if an action is needed. If no action is needed, we're just going to close it out, and it'll be there for a record. If an action is needed, it's going to create an actual corrective action form for us, and then we can go in there and create some corrective action tasks, preventative action tasks, assigned to very specific users that can actually make changes. And then we go into a monitoring state. Excuse me, jumped ahead there. Then we go into a monitoring state where once all the corrective action tasks are completed, we monitor the actions over a period of time. Maybe it's 3 months, 6 months, depending on the changes, and at the end we measure the effectiveness of the changes, and if everything is good, we get sign off on the changes and approval by the quality department. So a couple of screenshots of what that approval process looks like. The first step was to capture the information. So here is one of the methods for capturing information, and it's through our audit checklist system. Basically, we can create different audits with different schedules, assign different metadata to that audit for the location of the audit, the auditor, the audit date, and so forth. And then we can have a list of pre-generated questions that need to be asked during that audit process. So down here will be our list of questions, and it may be a couple of questions or maybe 100 questions. Depends on the audit. Of course, the auditor would fill in all the information, the audit notes and so forth. If there is a nonconformance, we can tag it as a nonconformance. The other options would be like no action is needed. We can have an option also to just tag something that is noteworthy. So, like it could be a positive feedback or something that we want to keep a record of, but there's really no action necessary. So it's pretty configurable as well. We also have an option to export this into an Excel spreadsheet so that we can take it offline and walk around the plants or whatever we need to do and fill out the spreadsheet and come back and enter the data into the system once we're back online. So in this case, if we add an audit item that has a non-conformance, the system will automatically generate a corrective action for that. So here's a screenshot of what a corrective action form would look like. Part of the form you don't see on the screen would capture all the information that's coming from that audit. So it has all that, a description of the notes and the audit dates, and all that information is coming over with it. And then we can assign a process owner who's going to own this action and determine the root cause, and ultimately assign tasks that need to be completed to either correct or prevent the action from the nonconformance from occurring. Once all the corrective action tasks are completed, first, the users that are assigned to the corrective actions, they are going to receive a notification in the task in SharePoint to make those changes. Whenever they click on those links, they're going to be taken directly to the forum, so they can see all the details about the issue. They can see the root cause and so forth, and they can see the details of their task. And they can mark their task as completed from this form directly. Once all of those actions are completed, then it is routed to back to the process owner, who can set a monitoring date and wait until that date occurs, and then come back and review the effectiveness. Once that has been completed, we can send it off for QA verification, and they can sign off on the corrective action, and it is closed out. And the original nonconformance from the audit checklist would also be closed with it as well, so that there's no open end. Okay, so that was a very quick overview of our corrective actions module. Now we are at the end here and going to go through some questions. So just a moment here and see what questions we have. Here's a question. Can QMS Share be incorporated into our existing SharePoint? Yes, it can. What we recommend building out QMS Share as a separate site collection in SharePoint, but we can certainly inherit your branding and navigation and so forth into the solution so that it matches the rest of your SharePoint environment. And we recommend building it out into a separate site collection so that we can keep all those controlled documents and all those workflows and everything isolated, so it's easy to know exactly where to go. Another question is, can we publish documents to be converted? Can we convert documents to PDF when they're published? We can also do that in some cases. If it is a SharePoint on-premise environment, the capability is available through the Word automation service in SharePoint. So, or if you're using an in-text workflow, we can use an in-text to easily convert the document to PDF. If you're using SharePoint Online in Office 365, we would need a third party like Mambi to convert the document into a PDF. And just a note on that, the published documents library would be set to read-only. So even if it was a Word document, the users would not be able to change those documents. They could technically download it and make changes offline, but they would never be able to change the document in SharePoint itself. Okay. Next question is, how are documents migrated into SharePoint? So this is a very common question, because all of our implementations, we usually have documents that we need to migrate into the new QMS Share environment. And there's several options. It depends on the size and the complexity of the migration. One of the simplest solutions is to simply take your local files, organize them into the appropriate folder structure, so that we can just pick up those files, drag them into SharePoint, and then you go into SharePoint and open up like the quick edit view in SharePoint and quickly tag all the documents with the document number and document owner, and all that information that's in SharePoint. Pretty straightforward process. Another option, if you are maintaining a spreadsheet that has all the metadata for the documents already, we would just need we would need to know the path to the document, but then we can run a script to grab those documents and pull it into SharePoint and apply the metadata for you. And then there's some cases where we've had the documents were previously in another third-party tool and in a separate database, and in that case we would need the documents to be exported before we can move them into SharePoint. Okay, I think we have one more question. Can we use Microsoft Flow in SharePoint Online for this solution? And we have been working on a QMS implementation using Microsoft Flow. What we're finding is that Flow doesn't have all the capabilities that you would typically need in an implementation. If you have a very simple environment with not too many documents and a very simple approval process, sometimes Microsoft Flow is all you would need, where it just all you need to do is start the approval, somebody approves it or rejects it, and then it's finished. The document is moved, and it's very, very straightforward. Some of the things that it doesn't provide yet is like the capability to know when the document has changed and automatically reject or end the workflow process when the document is changed. And also there's some limitations on Microsoft Flow running more than like 30 days at a time. So if your approval process takes longer than 30 days, you might not be able to use Microsoft Flow. There's some other various features. We are working on a modern version of QMS Share using Microsoft Flow, and whenever it is fully capable to handle all the functionality, we would definitely be ruling that out. So I think that's all we have. If you have any further questions, you can reach out to Carol right away at Able Solutions for more information, and she can also hook you up with Aaron at ATS if you have any specific questions for him. Thank you and have a great day.